Just a mic, because Ron's so short. Because there is no mic.
You are the mic. The mic that you
again.
Mike, you need to adjust.
Sounds painful. Slap upside the head, Ron.
Alright, man, so first things first. Next Saturday, dinner at the fire station. Whoever wants to make food, bring food to that dinner at the fire station, let me know when we get done tonight so we can figure it out.
Again?
This Saturday,
What time?
March 8th, we are going to start eating at 7 o'clock. We are welcome to use their ovens if we want to use their ovens. Me and Bill have both agreed that since we can only make cereal, we are going to go halves on a sheet pizza. But other people that actually can cook.
Thanks for the recipe, by the way.
Yeah. Other people that actually can cook and you want to bring food, let's figure out what we're doing afterwards tonight.
Cool.
There was something else.
How many people you guess?
1,000. No. There's only, I believe, 11 paid firefighters in Ithaca. Probably half of them will be there. So with us plus them, I would say let's plan on a dozen. And then if we have food left over, then we can just leave it with them. We can take on them. So.
Yeah, not a lot left on it.
Yeah. The assistant fire chief has been playing phone tag with me the last couple of days to work out any details, and we haven't connected. So if anything changes, I'll let you guys know. But it'll probably be Deb and Julie Exon will be the only ones cooking because you guys are the ones that can. All right. There was something else. Maybe it'll come to my mind. Maybe it won't. But anyways, we are going to continue studying through Mark. So I was fortunate enough like a month ago to talk to a social justice group at Ithaca College about going out in the world and actually taking steps to make a difference in the world. And what was really cool about that was it was in a scenario where afterwards they could ask me questions. And the questions were all based around what to do about fear of stepping out and doing things. And last time we were here, we talked about fear and how that hinders us from going out into the world. And the other one was the doubt of how much difference can I really make? How much difference can one person really make? And that's really what I want to get into tonight with this story from Mark chapter 5. This picks up immediately after everything we talked about last time about the storm on the Sea of Galilee. And this says, "Then they came to the other side of the sea, the country of the Gadarenes. And when he had come out of the boat, immediately there met him being Jesus, there met him out of the tombs a man with an unclean spirit, who had his dwelling among the tombs. And no one could bind him, not even with chains, because he had often been bound with shackles and chains, and the chains had been pulled apart by him, and the shackles broken in pieces. Neither could anyone tame him. And always night and day he was in the mountains and in the tombs, crying out and cutting himself with stones. When he saw Jesus from afar, he ran and worshipped him, and he cried out with a loud voice." The word worship there means that he ran and fell down in front of him. A demon obviously is not going to worship Jesus all that much, although what's interesting is the demon does understand the place of reverence and respect towards the Son of God that the people so often miss. And he cried out with a loud voice and said, "What have I to do with you, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I implore you by God that you do not torment me." For he said to him, "Come out of the man, unclean spirit." And then he asked him, "What's your name?" And that whole section is in the imperfect tense in the Greek, which means it was an ongoing conversation. This section right here, most of us have seen in horror movies because it's the root of many, many horror movies. And the idea is this conversation is the demon's just going off, going, "What are you doing here? I don't want to get in trouble with you. I know who you are. You're the Son of God. Like, don't torment me before the appointed time. Just leave me alone. Just go out of here." And while this is going on, Jesus is saying to him repeatedly, "Come out of the man, unclean spirit. Come out of him. Stop flipping off. I'm going to sour pack punch you straight back to the gates of hell. Stop flipping off." So they're having this ongoing conversation while this is happening, which for anyone that is involved in deliverance, it opens up a little bit of light because it's not always as simple as just go demon and boom, it goes away. A lot of times it's a fight, it's a fight. So anyway, it says, "Then he, Jesus, asked him, 'What is your name?' And he answered, saying, 'My name is Legion, for we are many.' Also he begged him earnestly that he would not send them out of the country. Now a large herd of swine was feeding there near the mountains. So all the demons begged him, saying, 'Send us to the swine, that we may enter them.' And at once Jesus gave them permission. Then the unclean spirits went out and entered the swine. There were about 2,000. And the herd ran violently down the steep place into the sea and drowned in the sea. So those who fed the swine fled, and they told it in the city and in the country. And they went out to see what it was that had happened Then they came to Jesus and saw the one who had been demon-possessed and had the legion sitting and clothed and in his right mind. And they were afraid. And you got to look at that response, man. Like, they see this dude undergone this miraculous transformation, and their response is they're scared of it, man. that is not lost on me. And they were afraid. And those who saw told them how it had happened to him who had been demon-possessed and about the swine. Then they began to plead with him to depart from their region. And when he had gotten into the boat, the one who had been demon-possessed begged him that he might be with him. However, Jesus did not permit him, but said to him, "Go home to your friends and tell them what great things the Lord has done for you, and how he has had compassion on you." And he departed and began to proclaim in Decapolis all that Jesus had done for him, and they marveled. That's a really long section of scripture. So this all happened in this area, Decapolis. Decapolis is made up of two words: deca, which means 10, and polis, which means city, because the area was 10 cities. There's really no teaching point there at all. The area was 10 cities. What you want to understand out of that is it was a big area. You know, this wasn't like, it says they went out into the city and the country, and they told all the people what had happened, and this crazy dude, he had these pigs run down this slope, and they drowned in the sea, and now he's normal. It was a big area that they went out. It wasn't like going out and telling Ithaca so much as it was like going out and telling the southern tier. So it was a really big area. And the response was, when they come and they see this with their own eyes, was they asked Jesus to leave. And this was a Gentile area. Jesus had crossed over to the other side of the sea. So there were Jews that were living over there, but it was predominantly a Gentile area. Decapolis was built under the Greek city-state model. It was, for anyone that cares, it came under Hasmonean control in, I believe it was 3rd century BC, and then it came under control of the Roman Empire. So anyway, there were a lot of people there who were not Jews, because Jews would not have had pigs. They wouldn't have farmed pigs because pigs are unclean. They don't eat pigs. They don't touch pigs. They don't like pigs. They don't have anything to do with pigs. So this was these guys' way of life. That they made their living off of farming these pigs. And so their response from this miraculous change in this guy and the impact to themselves economically with the loss of these pigs was asking Jesus to leave. So what's cool here, I think, is that this dude wants to go with Jesus. And Jesus says, "No, I want you to go back to your friends, and I want you to tell them about the compassion that God has had on you." And the "tell them" is a word that means to declare, and it's from a root that has the meaning of intensity, and it's often translated as show. So it's not so much just telling people as it is demonstrating. He was telling, in this word, he was telling this dude, what's happened for you, go do the same thing to other people, and tell them, declare to them the power that is healing them from these things. And it says that how he had compassion on you, how God had compassion on you, Jesus had compassion on you. That word translated compassion here is a word that means sympathy with the misery of another. But if you stop there with only having that sympathy with their misery, that is not what this means. It has that sympathy with the misery, but it specifically means that your sympathy is manifested in action. It means that you have taken action. You've identified with the person, you feel bad because of what they're going through, and you take action to counter what they're going through, to show them mercy, to show them love, to actually do something. It's not just driving by someone on the side of the road and going, "Man, that sucks." It's stopping and pulling over and talking to the dude and seeing what you can do to help him. It's actually taking action. And so this area of Decapolis is a big area. It's made up of 10 cities. And what does Jesus do? He sends this one dude to go into this area. And honestly, how much can we do? How much can one person do? And I think of biblical examples like Abraham, who the entire nation of Israel came from Abraham, from one man who God said to him, "Look, leave where you are. I want you to go to the land that I'm going to give you. Your descendants are going to be like the sands of the sea. They're not even going to be able to be numbered. And just go." And Abraham goes, and he went. The account of it in the New Testament in Hebrews, I love it because he says he went not knowing where he was going. It says, "By faith Abraham obeyed when he was called to go out to the place which he would receive as an inheritance, and he went out not knowing where he was going." He had no idea. He was just one man going out to do what God told him to do. And I think of dudes like Joseph. His brothers had a big problem with him, and they sold him into slavery. And Joseph winds up in prison, and then out of prison he winds up in this place, second in command to Pharaoh, where the Egyptians literally bowed to him when he went by, and he saves his family from the famine that's going on in Israel. Through saving his family, from whom the 12 tribes of Israel came, he allowed the nation of Israel to actually become the nation of Israel. Just one person doing what God told them to do. And I want to give us a couple more examples that are more culturally relevant to us right now. First one is Candy Lightner. Candy Lightner had a 13-year-old daughter, and her daughter's name was Carrie. And Carrie was walking to a church festival. You know, a lot of churches will have these like little mini carnival kind of things that go on during the summer. She was walking to one of those. She was walking on the bicycle lane, and she was hit by a drunk driver. And the damage was so bad, her mom wanted to donate her organs, and the doctors said she was so badly damaged they couldn't use any of her organs to give to a donation. She was hit by a drunk driver. And this happened in 1980. And what really Candy could not accept, what she could not get over, was that the man that had killed her daughter had been arrested 3 other times for drinking and driving. He had just recently been arrested for a hit and run while he was drunk, because at this time there weren't really any legal consequences of importance. There was no really big major ramifications for drinking and driving and for the carnage that came with it. So she founded in her living room on March 7th, 1980, MAD, the group Mothers Against Drunk Driving. One woman who would not let things lay the way that they were, started this group that now has over 2 million members nationwide. One person started that. One person, because of her, there are now legal consequences for drinking and driving, especially for when someone is killed and when someone is injured in those hit and run instances. She changed the entire legal system because one person wouldn't let things lie the way that they were. I think of Rosa Parks on December 1st in 1955. She said, "No, man, I'm not going to the back of the bus." That was a pivotal moment in the civil rights movement, man. That could certainly be pointed to as the reason why we don't look around and have a colored section of the bar upstairs and a white section of the bar downstairs, because that triggered the Montgomery bus boycott, which brought on the awareness nationwide of the civil rights movement and how badly black people were being treated in America. I think of Joanne Rowling, who was nobody. She was nothing. She had just gone through a very painful divorce. To make ends meet, she returned to this outline of a book that she'd been working on for the last 5 years to try to do something with it. She couldn't get it published under her name, Joanne, so the publisher published it under J.K. Rowling, because the publisher said, little American boys are not going to buy a book that is written by a woman. And that was the first Harry Potter book, and it shattered sales records. It's sold like 500 million copies or something like that. It completely shattered all sales records, and it led to 6 more books, and it led to the movies, and it led to the Harry Potter amusement theme park, man. This one woman who had a burning desire in her heart to do something. Brian White was a hemophiliac. Hemophiliacs, their blood doesn't really clot up right, so even from a really minor injury, it bleeds so profusely they'll often have to get blood transfusions. And Brian White, during the 80s when this happened, got AIDS through a blood transfusion, and he was a young boy. He wound up dying at the age of 18. But his fight for fair treatment from the public school system exposed the discrimination that there is against AIDS patients. It debunked the myths that AIDS only affects drug addicts and people that are sexually promiscuous. It's what raised awareness to the point where now, overseas, particularly in Africa, we have these AIDS counselors planting themselves in these African communities, in these areas that are so infested with AIDS that there's orphans. These tribes are becoming nothing but orphans because their parents are dying, because groups like the LRA, the Lord's Resistance Army, who has nothing to do with that Lord at all, very, very evil people, they'll do things like they'll go into a village, they'll steal the children, these men have AIDS, they rape the women, and then they laugh at them and they say, now you have AIDS, enjoy the rest of your life. And so what that's left is a whole generation of children that don't have parents. And this awareness that started with Brian White about AIDS is why there's being relief brought to those children now. From one dude who wouldn't shut up One dude who wouldn't be like, I'm just going to accept things the way they are. One dude that said, I'm going to actually have a set of balls and not just lie down and die. And I'm going to make my voice heard and I'm going to stand and fight. Lily Ledbetter. Ledbetter. It sounds like a band name. I played Ledbetter, bro. Lily Ledbetter. She retired from the Goodyear Company after working there for 20 years. And she sued the company in 1998 for paying her less than they had paid her male workers. And when she got her retirement from that company, she found out she had been shorted the whole time that she was there. And the case went all the way up to the Supreme Court, and she lost. She lost that case in the Supreme Court, but it was because of her fight that Congress passed the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act in 2009. And the passage of that act changed federal law to better protect women in the workplace. One woman who would not shut up. One woman who had the balls to do something about what was going on with the situation. Changed federal law. Had Congress do something. Congress doesn't do anything. This one woman, her story, her fight, led to Congress changing the federal law. So what can one person do? One dude that Jesus said, go back into this region where these people are not too fond of me and they want me to leave, and I want you to go back. And I want you to identify with their suffering. I want you to show them mercy, removal of the misery of a life in distress. And I want you to show them the love of God. You see a couple chapters later, in chapter 7, Jesus is back in Decapolis. My fingers are so cold I can't flip my pages. And it says here, this is in chapter 7, verse 31, again, parting from the region of Tyre and Sidon, he came to the midst of the region of Decapolis, to the Sea of Galilee. And they brought to him one who was deaf and had an impediment in his speech, and they begged him to put his hands on him. These people who before they begged him to leave their region, now they're begging him to put his hands on this dude and heal him, because this one dude who went out and he showed people God's love. He didn't just talk about it, he showed them. And so they bring him this dude, and I just want to get through the rest of this section really quick about healing this dude, and then we'll play some more music. They bring him this dude, and it says, he took him aside from the multitude, and he put his fingers in his ears, and he spat, and he touched his tongue. Then looking up to heaven, he sighed and says, Pathatha, I don't know, you try to pronounce E-P-H-P-H, which means be open. So that seems really strange. Like, Jesus, they bring this dude, and they're begging him to heal this dude, and he's like, oh, hang on, let me just stick my fingers in his ears and spit and touch his tongue real quick, What is that? What is that? Like, how are we to understand that? If Jesus is the Son of God and was the most brilliant person to ever walk this earth, fully man and fully God, why would he do some cryptic, stupid, hand-poke, spitting thing? Like, next time Bill sick, should I spit on him? Is that what I should learn? Poking, man.
Yes.
So this is what we have to understand, that the first century readers would understand that we do not understand. First of all, spit was viewed as a very powerful healing tool. Very powerful healing tool in the ancient world. The Roman historian Tacitus wrote about the Emperor Vespasian. He was emperor from 69 to 79 AD. He founded the Flavian dynasty. Documented a story about Vespasian, who healed this dude with his spit. And there was another dude who I think was deaf or something. But like, you read this account, and Tacitus didn't write it as this man performed this holy miracle. It's very sarcastic. It was pointing to the absurdity of Vespasian implanting these people in the crowd, and then he spits and he uses his saliva to heal them, and they jump up and they're like, oh, I can see it. And then the people love him, and it was very much a political movement. It was staged and it was set up. But the first century understood that healing that they thought there was in saliva, especially the saliva that came from a powerful or a famous person, was thought to be a better healing agent than Bill's saliva. Not that you're not famous and powerful. So why would Jesus do this? Why would Jesus poke his fingers and spit and touch his tongue? They bring him someone who can't hear, who has, some translations say that he was mute, some say he was dumb, some say speech impediment. What's really cool is this is the only time that word is used in the New Testament. It's used one time in the Greek translation of the Old Testament, and it's in the book of Isaiah, and it is in a prophecy about actions that the Messiah, the Christ, will take when he's here on earth. And it says, then the eyes of the blind shall be opened, and the ears of the deaf shall be unstopped, and the lame shall leap like a deer, and the tongue of the dumb will sing. So that word dumb there is the only other time that word is used. So one, this is pointing to, it's not even suggesting, it's blatantly saying that Jesus is the Christ, he is the Messiah. And so Jesus goes to this dude. What's he going to say? I mean, he can't say something this guy is going to understand. You think of the point of the parables. The point of the parables Jesus used were to provoke a response. The point of when he makes healing is provoking faith. That woman who had the flow of blood for 12 years, he scanned that crowd intently looking for her, scanning the whole crowd to find her, to let her know it was your faith that healed you. This is an act by what he does, this weird touching and stick kind of thing. They're actions that are intended to provoke faith in a tangible and meaningful way. He's touching this guy's ears. He's saying, look, bro, what you got going on with your ears? The healing power right now. Your tongue, too. And it says, then he looked up to heaven. It's coming from God. It's going to be the one that was healing you. It was actions intended to provoke faith in this dude. It wasn't some kind of cryptic, weird spit cult. So I'm going to wrap this up. If you guys want to come back up, even if you don't want to come back up, please come back up. There you go. I can't remember what else I was going to tell you guys. I would like you to please pray for a man, Phil, who I have been helping out. He's homeless. Him and his girlfriend are homeless. Just found out his girlfriend's pregnant. And he was going to be here tonight, but most people that say they're going to be here are actually not here. So just keep him in your prayers. It's been really cool the way that God has been connecting me and him up. We've gotten to know each other pretty well over the last couple weeks. So please be praying for him. Oh, I wanted to tell you that
Concert?
No, but now that you bring it up, there is a concert on March 29th at the Vineyard Church. New Vine Media is doing a concert on March 29th at 7 o'clock. I believe there's 3 bands that are playing. It's going to be a really cool time. It's also Julie's birthday, and I'm going to kidnap her. I wanted to tell you that the rescue mission now operates the Red Cross Friendship Center on State Street. Was the only emergency shelter in Ithaca, and it was notoriously difficult to get into. You had to have references from DSS, you had to have paperwork to show you were homeless in the last county you lived in. It was ludicrous, it didn't help people. It opened up Friday under the rescue missions management, and now anyone that needs a place to stay can just go in there and stay the night to get out of the cold. So, should you encounter someone who is living outdoors, please direct them to the rescue mission shelter on State Street, and they'll be able to stay the night there. So let's pray, guys. Heavenly Father, God, I thank you for bringing us here tonight, Lord. I thank you for the opportunity to worship you, to talk about your word, the wonderful things that you reveal to us. And God, I pray against that fear right now that would prevent us from going out into the world and changing the world, Lord. I pray against that insecurity that would have us question, what can I do? What can one person do? And that we would stand fearlessly and boldly in faith in you to go out into the world that we are in and change the world. What you taught, your love is the only thing that can ever change this world in any kind of lasting way. It's the only thing that will ever bring transformation to our personal lives, to the culture we live in. I pray that your kingdom, God, would be the culture that we live in, that we would be the church, that we would show people your love, not just something we talk about, something that we actually carry out with the way that we live our lives. In Jesus' name, amen.